All right, let's dive right into this explainer and explore the surprising, absolutely mouth-watering diversity of Germany's culinary landscape. When you think of German food, your mind probably jumps straight to a massive plate piled high with heavy meats and boiled potatoes, right? But the truth is, Germany has this incredibly rich, deeply regional, and constantly evolving food culture that goes way, way beyond that. Today, we're going to unpack the history, the geography, and the modern multicultural influences that make up the real German menu. To start things off, we really have to ask ourselves, is it just meat and potatoes? Because that global stereotype rarely does justice to the unbelievable variety found across the country. Now, it's true that historically, less than 3% of Germans were farmers, so the country had to rely heavily on hardy root vegetables like potatoes, which, fun fact, were popularized by King Frederick the Great in the 18th century. But if we view the cuisine purely through that lens, we're totally missing out on centuries of culinary innovation, distinct regional specialties, and some really cool international influences. Just to completely shatter that myth right out of the gate, take a look at this number. There are actually over 1,500 different types of sausages alone in Germany. 1,500. That number is just staggering. It tells us that sausage making isn't just one standard recipe. It's a literal art form that changes from town to town. From the thick Thuringian sausage to the slender Nuremberg Rostbratwurst, the sheer variety proves that German cuisine is incredibly complex. Okay, let's move into Section 1, Regional Delights, and see how geography totally shifts the flavors on your plate. This comparison brilliantly illustrates the contrast. Up in the north, with historic harbor towns like Hamburg and Bremen, the food leans heavily on fresh coastal seafood. You've got the famous Fischbrötchen, which are these delicious pickled herring or fried fish rolls, and hearty sailor meals like Lapskaus, made with corned beef. But then you look at the south, specifically Bavaria. This is a region of higher elevations and alpine traditions. Down there, the food is hearty, it's indulgent, and it's designed to keep you warm. We're talking Schweinshaxe, a deeply roasted pork knuckle with the crispiest skin, paired with knuckle, or potato dumplings, and the iconic Weisswurst. Moving over to the west, in the Rhineland, they rely heavily on time and technique. Take Sauerbraten, for example. This is absolutely not your quick weeknight dinner. It's an old-school method of softening tough cuts of meat. Historically, they sometimes even used horse meats, though today it's usually beef or venison. They soak it in a rich vinegar and spice mixture for several days. It creates this deeply flavorful sweet and sour pot roast that's usually served up with red cabbage. It is a perfect example of how historic preservation techniques evolved into these beloved national dishes. Now for Section 2, the Great German Bread Culture. This is a massive foundational pillar of the German diet. Check this out. Germany produces an astonishing 600 main types of bread, plus around 1,200 varieties of pastries and rolls using almost every available grain you can think of. Seriously, think about that for a second. Wheat, rye, barley, spelt, oats, millet, corn, they use the whole shebang, often mixing them together and relying heavily on traditional sourdough methods instead of just commercial yeast. The crucial takeaway here is that bread isn't just an afterthought or a side dish in Germany, it is a dietary staple that commands serious respect. You have everything from the deeply roasted, sweet and dense Westphalian Pumpernickel to the salty, crispy, chewy Bavarian Brezel, which is famously dipped in lye before baking to get that beautiful, distinct brown crust. They even have Kartoffelbrot, which ingeniously mixes mashed potatoes right into the dough to keep the bread unbelievably moist and fresh for way longer. And of course, the little crispy rolls known as Brötchen in the north or Semmeln in the south, those are an absolute weekend breakfast necessity. In fact, bread is so central to the culture that the traditional evening meal is literally named Abendbrot, which translates to evening bread. Instead of having a massive, heavy, hot dinner, Abendbrot focuses on simplicity and high quality. Families will gather around a spread of freshly baked whole grain breads paired with savory deli meats, liver sausages, and a whole array of cheeses like Gouda or Brie. It's this humble, really communal way of eating that perfectly showcases their absolute mastery of baking. All right, let's jump into Section 3, Hearty Staples and Historic Dishes. Let's look at the comfort food that defines the nation. I absolutely love this German proverb. Alles hat ein Ende, nur die Wurst hat zwei. It means everything has an end, only the sausage has two. It humorously and pretty perfectly captures just how deeply ingrained the sausage or Wurst is in their cultural psyche. Sausages actually originated in the Middle Ages as a highly effective way to preserve meat so it wouldn't spoil. By grinding it up, salting it, and casing it, that meat could feed families right through those long, harsh winters. It is so fascinating how history shapes what we eat. Take the famous Nuremberg Rinderbratwurst. It's distinctively small. But why? Well, legend has it that back in the 14th century, they were specifically made tiny so that families could literally slide them through the small keyholes of prison doors to sneak food to their incarcerated loved ones. No way, right? Today, they're just a delicious bite-sized piece of history, often flavored with marjoram and nutmeg and grilled until they are perfectly golden. Then we have a dish like Käsespätzle. Originally, this was an inexpensive, highly caloric meal designed for hardworking Swabian peasants and soldiers down south. It requires only the most basic pantry ingredients: flour, eggs, and milk. But the real magic is in the technique. The wet dough is actually scraped or pressed through a special sieve called a Spätzlehobel directly into boiling water, which creates these irregular, fluffy, chewy noodles. You layer that up with melting cheese, top it with an absolute mountain of crispy fried onions, and you have the ultimate heavy-hitting comfort food. Moving on to Section 4, Street Food and Modern Shifts. Let's see how modern fast food has radically evolved. It's crazy to realize that the iconic Currywurst was born directly from the ashes of a divided post-World War II Berlin. Back in 1949, a woman named Herta Hoyer ingeniously traded for British military rations of curry powder and mixed them with American ketchup. She poured this spicy, sweet, and tangy sauce over a sliced grilled sausage, and boom, a legend was born. For decades, it was the absolute, undisputed king of German canteen snacks and street food. But today, the street food scene is incredibly diverse and multicultural. The doner kebab, which was introduced by Turkish immigrants, is arguably the new king of the streets. It's so vital to the culture that university students recently campaigned successfully to get a kebab shop on campus. And get this, they have even, humorously yet earnestly, petitioned politicians for price caps on doner because of inflation. You also have this amazing explosion of Southeast Asian cuisine, particularly in East Germany, rooted in former Vietnamese contract workers who opened restaurants after reunification. From Lebanese falafel to Turkish kumpir, which are these massively loaded baked potatoes, the streets of Germany literally offer a taste of the whole world. Now, even when it comes to the most traditional side dishes, there is a fascinating regional split. Take potato salad or Kartoffelsalat. It's massively popular, especially on Christmas Eve. Families serve it alongside sausages to save on cooking time so they can actually, enjoy the holiday together. But if you order it in northern Germany, it's gonna come smothered in a rich, creamy mayonnaise dressing. Order it down south, and it'll be tossed in a lighter, tangier dressing made of vinegar, oil, and warm beef broth. It is just one of those dishes that perfectly highlights the invisible culinary borders within the country. Finally, let's treat ourselves with Section 5, delicious desserts and sweet endings. Though technically Austrian in origin, dating all the way back to the 18th century imperial courts of Vienna, the deeply indulgent Kaiserschmarrn has become an absolute staple of the German Alpine region, especially in Bavaria. It's essentially this giant, fluffy sweet pancake that is intentionally ripped apart in the pan as it cooks. And doing that allows all those jagged edges to get beautifully caramelized and crispy in the butter. They dust it with powdered sugar and serve it piping hot with a side of fresh applesauce. It's so good. And speaking of apples, they are heavily featured in German sweets, echoing that universal sentiment: an apple a day keeps the doctor away. You see this most famously in the beloved Apfelstrudel, the warm, comforting sense of baking apples, cinnamon, and raisins all wrapped in a paper-thin dough. I mean, that is practically the official aroma of a German winter. And it's traditionally served hot with a big scoop of vanilla ice cream. Whether you're wandering through a snowy Christmas market, smelling the intoxicating aroma of gebrannte Mandeln, which are those addictive roasted almonds coated in caramelized sugar and vanilla, or sitting in a cafe enjoying a massive slice of rich, cherry-filled Black Forest cake, German sweets are fundamentally designed to bring people together. You have the heart-shaped Lebkuchen, a spiced gingerbread cookie often exchanged as a token of affection, and Hamburg's famous Franzbrötchen, which is this buttery, flaky cinnamon roll. Literally every single dessert is an invitation to sit down, grab a coffee, and connect. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I hope it's crystal clear that Germany's food culture is basically a vibrant living history book, looking way beyond that tired meat and potato stereotype to this incredible culinary evolution. From ancient preservation techniques and 600 types of bread, right up to the brilliant multicultural street foods shaping cities today. What delicious piece of German history are you going to try first? Keep exploring, keep tasting, and I will see you in the next one.